Hello and welcome to Political Science 101 or History 101, which is the history of the American political system. Today we're talking about your final draft. This week you're taking your rough draft and you're making some changes to it. And I just wanted to go over some basic things that seem to come up over and over again when you're finishing your final draft. One of my favorite professors at UC, he studied Latin America, and he always told us that the best part of writing, the best writers, what they do is they edit well. They edit over and over and over again. And at the beginning, I thought, wow, that is crazy. But I really found it to be true. And the more you edit, the better your paper is going to be. And so I'm going to go through some things with you and see if we can't help you have the best paper you possibly can have. Okay, for your final draft, of course, you need to read your comments and make corrections. Many of these are suggestions, okay? So it's not something you have to do, but they are suggestions. Maybe I'll give you an example. You can come up with your own example. If you have questions, you can ask me or text me. Text is usually the best way, the quickest way to get my attention. And you're welcome to do that. So you need to make those corrections first. You need to read it out loud several times. It really helps with the flow and really helps smooth it out. It really does. Really helps to smooth out your paper. Woo, let's put two O's. And make it flow a little better. You want to find words that are repetitive and use a thesaurus, okay? There's no need to use words that are super big just because they don't have to be big. They just need to capture what you're trying to say and what you're trying to express in your paper. So I love my dictionary app. I would not have made it through grad school without it. So let's say you keep saying the word see over again. Like you're, with your eyes, that you're seeing a trend and a pattern or something like that. So you look up the word see, and then you hit the thesaurus button, and I'll show you my app as well. And then you have a long list of words, and you just need to pick the right one. Be apprised of, catch sight of, catch a glimpse of, detect, discern, distinguish, contemplate. Okay. So I love my dictionary app, and my dictionary app looks like, let's see if we can, it looks like that right there. It says dictionary, and it is free, and it is absolutely wonderful. You can also use a thesaurus. I have several on my shelf, but I feel like when you look up words, normally there are like 20 to 25 words, and you can go through them and really pick the one that you're trying to use and express, and it makes your paper better. Just make sure you don't use words that you don't know, because that does the opposite of making your paper better. It makes it more complicated. Okay. Use transition sentences to smooth it out. In a transition sentence, the first argument, yada, 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 just pointing out those pointers at the beginning of the paragraph as to where you're going. And I might talk about more about transition sentence in the next video, because I'm going to talk about using some of your history analysis words to try and put in there that fit in order to use theory and historical theory with your paper. Because you learn those history analysis words, and they're really great if you can pull a few in to your paper. Okay, footnotes is a huge problem because usually we don't have enough, and I want to make sure that you understand when to use a footnote, okay? When you use a footnote, anytime you are stating something that is not common knowledge, okay? So if it's not common knowledge, you need to use a footnote, okay? And we're using the APA system, not the system normally used for history when you're in grad school or that sort of thing, but this is easier for writing so that you don't focus on the footnotes, you're focusing on more of your writing, and that's what I want you to do. So what you do is, let's say you give me a fact about your paper. I know one conference I had with a student talked about that actually the automatic gun, we looked on politifact.com, the automatic gun did not come from Army use, as someone actually invented it to shoot for hunting. Okay, and so that fact, you would want to put the author's name, Smith. So here's your fact. That's what this line is for, a squiggly line right here. Okay, let me see if you can see it. So your fact comes over here, okay, or your quotation, and I really don't want a ton of quotations. I would love some at the beginning, the introduction, or if there's ones that are, absolutely, fitting, perfectly fine. But my biggest struggle and problem when I was beginning to write more often was I used quotations way too often, and you can just say it and you can just rephrase it in your own words. But you still need to put a footnote, okay, because you need to cite it. You need to show that it was someone else's thought, okay? So you would put the thought or the quotation, and then you would put parentheses. You'd put the author's name of the book, article, and then you'd put a comma, P, period for page number, page, and then you put the page, and then you put your other, your parentheses, and then the period. Okay, so there wouldn't be a period at the end of the sentence here, but it would be right here. Okay, and you can look that up to better understand it on your APA on the internet. There's lots of, I know Purdue does a really good site to explain it better. Now let's say you have several pages that concept is talked about. So you can have your concept, you're rewording it, and then you need to put Smith, the author's name, you have your parentheses, page number, period, and then 101 to 102, or however many pages it was on, parentheses, and your period at the end. Okay, so that's how you want to do it. And the best way, one of the best things you can do is that I posted on your modules some good papers, okay? And you want to read those sample papers, okay? Because when you read those sample papers, you see how they did it. They were A papers. You see their approach, you see their arguments, you see their thought kind of process laid out on the page. I would read all three, okay? If you're still struggling a bit, go ahead and watch the video on your rough draft, how to write your rough draft. And if you're struggling with that, I would ask, have you done all the steps that were needed? And that's, really important. If I made a video to teach you how to do a rough draft, I did it for a reason, to really give you some tips, and it's important that you watch that. I also gave you some other videos that other people have made on how to write a thesis and that sort of thing. And maybe that, rewatching those would help you be a more effective writer. Okay, so we have 6 steps here to help you with your final draft. And then my other bit of advice would be to have a friend read it, okay, and make suggestions and ask them, do you understand what I'm talking about? Can you tell that it's an argument? Because this is an argument piece. You are arguing for a stance that you've taken in the political realm, anything from your book. And of course, it's covered a lot of things. Another thing I want to point out is not to use words like I or me. And if that's something confusing, those first those personal pronouns, if that's something that's confusing to you, probably your best bet is to, again, read those sample papers, because you are, stating different things. In your conclusion, you can possibly sneak in a personal pronoun if it fits properly. But most of the time you don't want a personal pronoun in your paper at all. So these are just some final tips, and make sure that you go ahead and do those. And I really think that you will find them helpful. Okay, good luck. And we just want your paper to be the best that it can be. Thank you very much.